Hi, my name is McCauley. I'm in Syracuse, New York at Pray It Off. And you know what's funny? My husband and I wake up on Thursday mornings and we go, it's PO Day! Woo, woo! And we've been doing that for 6 years. So the newness, just like our love for each other in this group, never wears off. Now, the meeting tonight, we're going to talk about how we need to toughen up. We need to really embrace this healthy lifestyle. And I want to start by a little story. When Vince, our 18-year-old son, was 4, we were at my mother's house for a family gathering, and she had a new kitten. And the kitten's name was Mikey. So my niece, who never watches the blog, is one of those types who's kind of like this narky kind of girl. She went, Grandma, Vince is being rough with the cat. So we all look at my mother, because you never quite know what my mother's going to say. And my mother sat there and went, that cat is going to have to learn to toughen up. That's what my mother said about the cat. And guess what? The cat lived for 13 beautiful years and died in its sleep last year. But I always remember that. That cat is going to have to learn to toughen up. And isn't that what we're all going to have to learn to do? Because how many times do we have that bad day, that upsetting news, and our first reaction, because this is what we do, everybody, is the candy bar, the beer, the snack, the pie, the bagel with cream cheese. How do we toughen up? When the going gets rough, some of us fall apart where others ride it out unscathed. How do we become more resilient? And you know, one of the things is, when a crisis emerges, do we whine and cry, or do we say, how can I move forward in the direction of solving this problem? And are we good at solving everybody else's? Well, why don't they just do this? And why don't they do this? And how come they're not trying that? But when it comes to us, we're like, oh, give me a Snickers. I don't want to think about it. The thing is, resilience helps us transform our stressful circumstances from potential disasters into opportunities. We act in a positive direction, learning how to be tougher, learning. So then you might go back and say, you know, Ellen, I'm just not any good when it's tough. I'm not any good when I'm having a stressful day, or I'm tired or exhausted, or I have my time of the month, or my husband and I have an argument. So you got to go back to your roots. Did you have a supportive family? Well, you know what? My mother, who told the cat to toughen up, she was so supportive to me. When I grew up, she said, there's nothing you can't do. You work hard, you try hard, you can do it. I'd get good marks, she'd be thrilled. She was extremely supportive. We had a rough life, though. My father, it was a little bit of a tougher situation. But as long as you had someone in your life saying, go forward, whether it was a teacher, and you might say, Ellen, I never had that from anybody. Well, you're here now, and you're going to get it from me. I'm not going to tell you, you piece of crap, you gained weight. I'm going to say, come on, kick it up, we can do it. And maybe your mother or your father or your spouse, and this is funny, someone at work was talking about their mother, and she said, my mother graduated magna cum laude from the school of Mommy Dearest. So, maybe your mother or father or spouse graduated magna cum laude from Mommy or Daddy Dearest. We got to let it go and go forward. PO is a support. And one thing is to avoid those people who treat you badly. I always tell the story to the old members that I had a group of friends who would always tell me how fat I was. You're really fat. You might drop dead of a heart attack. Have you been tested for adult onset diabetes? I care about you. That's why I say these things. And they said it all the time. And I would come in, they go, whoa, you're putting on weight. And I'm like, oh. I knew I was putting on weight. Now I have other good friends who'd be like, hey, let's take a walk. That was the kind of support we need. We don't need someone constantly telling us what we doing that are wrong. If you have people who treat you badly in your life, see if you can distance yourself a little bit. And if you can't distance yourself from people who you have to see, distance your mind. And we're going to talk about how to do that. Do you embrace change? What we're doing here is change. The people who just joined session 13, they're learning to do the logs. They're learning to eat less. They're learning to track what they're eating. But there's people from session 2 and 3 and 4 who still haven't learned those lessons. who still haven't learned that you can't have the Whoppers, you can't have the pizzas, and consistently keep the weight off. Also, one of the things to embrace change is to be curious. You know, what am I going to feel like when I lose weight? I'm curious about how that goes. You wonder about things. You experiment. You might make mistakes. But the thing is, if you experiment by having broccoli without the butter and you really don't like it, by the 5th or 6th time that you're having broccoli without the butter and you're hungry, it might taste good to you. Another thing is, do you learn from past experiences? Okay, let me give you this example. You go to Weight Watchers, you lose weight, you quit, you gain it back. Okay. You drink a protein shake for 3 months, you lose weight, you gain it back. You have Nutrisystem. You eat the food, you lose weight, you gain it back. What have you learned from that? Have you learned that if you can lose the weight, you can certainly gain it back? How many times does it take us to say, you know what? If I don't eat less and move more and ask God to help me the rest of my life, I'm going to gain the weight back. Now, there are people who can leave this group, lose 50 pounds. Take Jean, for example. She's lost 50 pounds. She could leave. Leave, Jean. Go. She gets the maintenance here. She gets the support here. People who have lost weight still want to come back, but there are a couple people who might go on in their lives and do well. I am not one of them. I am not one of them. I need this group. Also, one of the things that maybe you've coped in the past by eating, find new coping methods, bike rides, journal, a therapist. One of the things too is to say to yourself, what am I learning from this? You come in tonight, you've gained 2 pounds, you look at your log and you go, where did I gain the 2 pounds? I had raisin toast for breakfast, I had a sandwich for lunch, then I had a roll for dinner. Maybe I'll only have carbs like that at one meal. Maybe I'll have raisin toast and see how we do next week. You study it, you learn from it. You learn, hindsight is 20/20, and you use it and you learn from it. Also, do you take responsibility for your troubles? You would not believe how many people who gain weight tell me why they gain weight that week, and it's not their fault. Now, if you're getting, if you had a week where you were on steroids every week, or you had a week where, every day, and you had a week where you sprained your ankle and you couldn't exercise, but if you said, I went to a work party and I had to have the pizza and wings, that's all they had, and I'm like, really? Because usually they have a salad. Oh yeah, they had that. What? You could have had, take responsibility. And one of the things I admire about people who take their weight gain like a man or a woman, and they go, I own it, I'm going forward. Also, people who lack resilience tend to pin their problems on other people or outside events. How can I lose weight? I had a rough life. How can I lose weight? My job's stressful. How can I lose weight? I got kids. How can I lose weight? Well, guess what? Anybody can lose weight and keep it off no matter what their problems are. I'm not talking medical problems. I'm talking situational problems. You just have to make it better for yourself. Also, one of the things is committed to being more resilient. A lot of people in the group have a hobby, and that hobby is eating. It is. It's their hobby. What am I going to eat today? What am I going to have for snack? And they think about it too much. It's like, okay, it's nighttime. Ooh, what was that? A little grumble? I'm hungry. I better eat something. I always tell people that little grumble, unless you're passed out on the floor, means that your body's burning the fat that we want to lose weight. When my stomach grumbles, I turn my eyes to heaven and say, praise God, thank you for the grumble. Maybe I'll lose this week. Do not have a hobby be what you're going to eat, because you need to have different things in your life that motivate you, that keep you going, because if your hobby's eating, you'll always go back. Or you say, my hobby's eating, but I have a clementine now. I'm going to have grapes now. You experiment with your hobby and see if you can have less caloric choices. Sometimes the problems, though, feel like the end of the world. But if you can step outside the situation and see that it's not, you can survive. We all have choices. I'm not talking about major life events where people you love, you lose them, or you have a terrible illness. I'm talking about the day-to-day annoyances. Hey, it's cold this week. Do you know how many people told me they gained weight this week because it was cold? Do you know how many? Those same people are going to, in July, say, I gained weight this week because it's a ha-ha. So, let's see what we can do to be resilient. I'm going to stop right there, Bobby.